Making felt flowers has been on the top of my to-do list for quite some time. I'm excited to share with you guys my tips and tricks for cutting and crafting with felt with your Cricut, and you can use them in so many different ways. This is Whiskey and Whit. My name's Whitney, and on this channel, not only do I love to share DIY and budget home decor content, but I also love to empower you to get more out of your Cricut machine. Cricut sells 3 different types of smart cutting machines that will allow you to create personalized projects with hundreds of different materials. The Cricut machine runs on a software called Design Space, and it will come for free with your machine. You can either download it on a desktop or you can use their mobile app. In Design Space is where you can create your projects and browse from a ton of different pictures, different fonts, different projects. And once you've created your design or selected a Make It Now project, Design Space will send it to your machine to cut. So if this is your first time here, I will link all of my Cricut playlists down below so you can learn more about your machine and get crafting. Now there are 2 really common ways that you can make felt flowers. The first being creating individual petals and applying them to your flower, and the second being a spiral method with one piece just being kind of spun up to create your flower. Now I'm gonna cover both of those today. First up, we're gonna do the individual petal method, and I'm gonna show you how easy it is to make these amazing peonies right behind me.
So with this being the first time I've ever done a felt flower, I decided to start with a Make It Now project on Design Space. So to find that in the program, I'm selecting projects over on the left, and then I'm going to search for felt flower. Now the cool thing about this too is a lot of the felt projects can be used with paper, and a lot of the paper flower projects can be used with felt. So I'm just scrolling through all of the options here, and I ended up deciding that I was gonna make peonies because they are my favorite flower. They make me think of my grandma, and I just have a lot of sentimental feelings behind it. So I'm gonna click on felt peony, and it's gonna give me a ton of information that I need. So the finish size, a description, a full materials list, everything else that I'm gonna need for this project, how to prep, and how to cut. Then it's gonna give me a full list of how to assemble, and for this project, I'm gonna use Cricut Felt, a fabric grip mat, and the rotary blade. I'm also grabbing from my stash my small glue gun, a little felt ball for the peony bud, my miter shears, and then also some of these wrapped floral wire pieces that I got at Michael's. These are 18 gauge and they were under $5 for a 12 pack. So now that I have my materials, I'm going really quick through the list of the assembly instructions just to kind of get a feel for what's going on. You can also hover over each of the images to enlarge them if you need to see a detailed image closer. I can scroll up here at the top to see both the mats and different images of the finished project, and when I'm ready, I'm clicking Make It. Design Space is going to sort it onto the different color mats that I need, and I'm selecting to cut it on a mat because that's what I need to do for felt. It's going to sort it out into the different colors so I know which mat to load at which time, and I'm also going to select 2 copies and hit apply here at the top, and that's going to allow me to make 2 sets of these peonies so I can have a fuller bouquet. Now we're going to tell our machine what material we're using, and so like I said, I'm going to use the Cricut Felt. So I'm going to go into Browse and search for felt. Now the great thing about this Cricut Felt is it tells me here if I have an Explore or a Maker what to put it on. Depending on your machine, you can cut with a regular blade, a deep cut blade, or like I'm going to use with my Maker, a rotary blade. So if you're going to use your regular blade, you can just go in and select felt, and then you'll be ready to go. Now a quick rundown of the mats if you're new to Cricut. Here is a color coordination on the types of mats. So I've got a pink one. I'm using the fabric mat today. Now with my Maker, I can swap out my cut housing to include the rotary blade. It's so simple. You unpop the little holder, you pull out your blade, you put in your rotary one and snap it back together, and your machine's going to be able to calibrate it and sense that it's in there. Then when you're done, just pop your cut blade right back in and it's ready to go for your next project. Also, if you get any bits of vinyl or felt cut up in your blade, you can take it off and push the little top piece, and then it will push out your blade like this and you can remove any bits. And now it's time to cut. So I'm going to take my 12 by 12 sheet of yellow felt, add it to my pink mat, make sure it's fully pressed down, and get ready to load it into my machine. Now, if you are using regular felt for this, you can. You just need to have the rotary blade, and you're also going to want to resize your materials before you cut. So here on the left, I'm just selecting 8.5 by 11, which is more the size of your felt that you'd get at Walmart, Michael's, etc. For that setting, I'm going to use felt craft bonded here, and I am also going to edit the tools to say rotary blade. Then Design Space is going to run you through the process on how to get everything to cut. So we're going to load in our mat, and each button that you need to press is going to blink, and it's going to correspond with what's going on either your phone or your screen. So here it's letting me know it's going to measure the mat length to make sure I have enough materials. And then when it's ready to go, my play button is going to blink and I'm going to hit start. That's it. Then you're going to let it cut, and then it will let you know when it's complete. When your Cricut stops cutting, you're going to hit your arrows again to eject your mat with your materials. Flip your mat over and peel the mat away from the materials. This is just a good habit to get into. It helps so things don't roll and rip. Then I peeled off my inner parts of my flowers, and it was time for the next color. So I'm repeating the same step by adding my green felt, cutting it with my rotary blade, and then popping off all of my leaves. And then I'm going to do it again with my pink felt, but this time I'm going to flip my mat around so that it cuts on the bottom. This is going to help prolong the life of my mat so I'm not cutting the same things on the same part of the mat over and over. As my pieces came out, I made sure to sort them by color and size so they were easy to find, especially because I'm making two different sets of these peonies. And we're going to start with our yellow fringe piece with one of our little floral wire pieces from Michaels. Add some hot glue and start at one end and start twisting it around, adding glue as you go, and it's basically going to add this little fringe at the top of your stick. Now you're going to need to make your petals. So you're going to take your smallest pieces, add a little bit of hot glue to the top where there's a slit, and overlap your pieces to kind of give it a 3D look. Then once those are cooled off with the hot glue, we're going to take a little bit more, put it along the bottom strip, and then overlap those as well. That's going to create kind of this little C shape, and that's going to allow you to start your peony. So then we're taking our 4 smallest petals and gluing them on around our yellow piece we just added to the floral wire. I did 2 opposite each other and then 2 on the other ends to kind of get it all the way around the outside. Add glue as needed, and then we're going to repeat the process. The process is the exact same as the first one, so we're going to glue our top 2 pieces as well as the bottom 2 fringe pieces together to create that C shape, add some hot glue, and continue to add it all the way around. I kept up that finished picture of the peony, so as I went, I kind of could figure out where to put the petals. There's no perfect way to do this. You just want to make sure that you don't have any side be more full than the other, so make sure you're evenly applying it around the outside of your flower. Once we get to the outside, the process changes just a teeny bit, and that's because your top 2 pieces aren't cut in half. So you're just going to glue the bottom piece here. As you can see, it's less curvy and it's going to make your peony look more full. Now, once all your petals are added, you're going to have a beautiful flower, and we're going to finish off the bottom with this green leaf piece. Add some hot glue and glue it to the bottom, and that will cover up any seams from your petals. So we've got our nice big bloom done. Now we're going to make our small little bud. So this is a probably 1-inch wide little felt ball I had left over from a garland from a previous project. I'm just poking a hole, adding some hot glue, and sticking it right to the top of that same floral wire. Now we're grabbing our smallest little petals and doing the same double glue technique. So glue the top 2 pieces together and overlap those bottom 2 pieces to create a little curvature. Then adding hot glue, we're going to do 3 of the smallest pieces overlapped on the top of your little bud. So then that way it looks like just a peony that hasn't opened yet. Once you do that, here's what it will look like. And then we're going to take the 4 larger pieces and fill around the outside to make your bud still small and dainty, but look a little bit more full. The last step here is to take these 3 little lily pad looking cutouts, and we're going to glue the bottoms together and then glue them around the bottom to mimic the look of the peony bloom with the green underneath. Now that we've got a bud and a bloom, we are going to fill it in with some leaves. So I'm just taking some small floral wire. This is also from Michaels. This is just the thin stuff. You can even get this at Dollar Tree. Take your leaf, add some hot glue, and pinch the bottom around your floral wire. This is going to make it so they're pliable and you can pose them and position them how you want. I used 3 of the smaller leaves to wrap it around my little bud, and I just trimmed off the excess floral wire. I also did the same process to create a little piece with just leaves for greenery, and then I did the larger leaves around my bloom. These ended up being so much easier than I even thought they were going to be, and so I ended up making a ton of other different kinds too. I did some eucalyptus so that I could create a full bouquet and fill this really pretty pitcher that I got from Walmart online. I also tested out some felt just from the craft store. So this is just Michael's felt, and I cut it with my rotary blade. I ended up doing the felt setting, but I selected the less pressure. It cut perfectly, and I wanted to give you guys a comparison. The Cricut felt is on the right, and the one on the left with the lighter green leaves is made out of just regular off-the-shelf felt from Michael's. These Black Eyed Susans were made with some Cricut felt, and the main difference is that it is more substantial and it doesn't have a backer. That's why you're able to cut it on different machines. You do need a maker and a rotary blade to cut the felt without a backer. Now, what if you find a Make It Now project, but it's not in the colors that you want? I decided to update these ranunculus to be purple and gold with a little bit of green versus red and green. So all you have to do is click Customize, add it to your Cricut canvas, and you can select whatever you want to change the colors of, select the different colors up at the top, cut it out the exact same way, and you can customize it with a ton of different colors, and this would be great for parties or weddings so you can get the exact color that you want.
Now the second method that I'm going to show you today is the spiral method. Now it just depends on the look you're going for. These tend to have more of a whimsical look.
Now we're gonna bop back into Design Space here, but this time we're gonna select images because we're looking for an image file. And then I'm gonna go to project type and select 3D. I'm looking for these spiral images that you can see here on the right-hand side. And if I wanna cut one out, I'm just gonna click it and select it. And then when I have everything selected, click Add to Canvas. Now everything is going to apply to your canvas. You can cut it as is or make it larger or smaller. You can kind of play around with the size you want and then send it to your machine to cut. Same settings as we did before. When it's done cutting, you are going to get these little spirals, and they are really easy to make into flowers. Take your spiral piece that you cut out and start with the outside end. We're gonna add some glue to that end and then spiral it around itself. Super easy and straightforward. The main key here is you just wanna make sure that that bottom stays flat because that's what your flower is going to sit on. When you get to the end, add a little bit more hot glue to set it, and then your last circle on your spiral is going to help seal the bottom. So put a little hot glue and then fold that circle over. Super easy, and there are a ton of different options that you could do with these too. I created this little wreath from the Dollar Tree bamboo wreaths. You could also make little clusters for the tops of presents. These would make great little bows. And I've also taken these and put them on top of ribbon for presents to kind of spice that up or add them to a gift basket. Another option would be to cut out some felt leaves and glue them to jute twine to make a garland like I did here. And then you can just add some of these little flowers to fill it out, and it'd be a great little runner or a little table setup or just a really fun way to add springy stuff and colors to your vignettes. And before I let you go, here are some tips on how to clean your dirty Cricut mat, because it will get dirty with the felt. I just like to take some Dawn Power Wash. I give it a quick spray right on my mat and splash it with some lukewarm water. I start by taking my fingers and really scrubbing up any of those little pieces, and then I take my little squeegee scraper tool and scrape everything into the center. As you can see here, it's all really coming up. Go ahead and rinse that off, set it to the side, give it a couple hours to dry, and that is it. Don't try to do this test when it's wet because it will not, but once it's dry, it will be sticky again.
I hope this video inspired you to try out cutting a new material with your Cricut machine, or even trying your hand at making some felt flowers like I did today. A huge thank you to Cricut for sponsoring today's video and supporting Whiskey and Wit, and a huge thank you to you for watching. Hit subscribe down below if this is your first time here so you don't miss any future Cricut content, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye!